and welcome to my webinar number 4 that's all about blended learning. I'm Tanya Driscoll, and this webinar is for a course about learning about blended learning and how to be awesome and how to prepare for it, but it's free for anyone to watch. If you are interested in the graduate credit, though, there is the address. You can feel free to go to the website. Okay, so first of all, a few key terms. Seated or one-on-one instruction refers to an in-person meeting with the child. So that's what we are all typically accustomed to, is that traditional setting where you actually see your student. Virtual or online just means you are communicating through this digital interface. Okay, so you're not in person. And then blended is a combination of these two. It means you see the kid in person at times, and then you're also having this online virtual instruction. Asynchronous and synchronous, basically the difference is one of them happens whenever, you meet up in a meeting and all the kids are there at that one time. And that is the only time they can get your instruction or get your information is at this one synchronous time. You all must synchronize your times and get onto the computer at the same time. Asynchronous means it's content that kids can view whenever they want. So it is available at other times. So it is possible that you would make some kind of synchronous video where there are kids there and it's happening right then in that moment, but that you record it so that it's available actually later as well. So it could be both, really. Just a few research statistics here for you. So the Department of Education did this meta-analysis in 2010, and a meta-analysis just means they look at all the studies that have been done, they look at the results, and they do some really complicated math stuff to figure out, in general, if a strategy is good or not. So if you want to know more about that, I actually have a webinar about John Hattie. He does a lot of meta-analysis of all the studies across the globe, actually, in terms of education. So it would explain to you how that math is done if you're interested. So the first thing is, very few studies have been done on actually, K through 12. So it's really hard to interpret these results because we're looking at a different general population than what you're going to see in a university setting. But there are some studies, just not very many. In general, across the board, the blended learning was better than either the online learning alone or the one-on-one learning. So really this blended learning was the best kind of learning that could happen. So that's good because that's kind of where we're moving here in America. And for good reason, it's the best strategy. The variations in how the information was organized and even like the type, like whether it was a game or a virtual lab or an essay or a quiz, that didn't seem to matter in the quality of the blended learning. That really didn't matter. So that's good. It means, you can do a lot of different things. There's not like one certain thing you need to be doing that's going to work. It means you can do a lot of different things, and any of those could work. When students conducted their own research, they noticed that engagement and achievement increased. So it's typical for a teacher to want to give here's the website with all the instructions. Here's the video that will show you how to do it. Here is, another link if you get confused. It could be helpful if you supply research terms and say, hey, you need to find a video on how to do this. That could get complicated. I mean, there's times that could work and times when it wouldn't. But when kids had to go out to find their answers online on their own, they actually learned more. So now John Hattie, he, like I had mentioned before, he conducts meta-analysis of educational studies all across the globe. And he looks at which strategies rise to the top, like across the board. It doesn't matter what kind of study it was or what sample size it had or how it was done or where it was done. It doesn't matter. He just combines that all to say, does this strategy overall rise to the top? So that complicated math they do gives us this number called an effect size. And so according to John Hattie, an effect size of 0.4 is considered a normal year's growth of academic performance. Okay, so basically all of us in our classrooms, we should be getting a year's worth of growth out of a student. I mean, they're there for the year. And that would be just considered average. Of course, we're always wanting to be better than average, right? So we really want an effect size larger than 0.4. And just as a comparison, an effect size of 0.8 would mean 2 years growth. So it's that simple when you look at the numbers. But we're going to go look at this website. This is a group of people that were considering blended learning, and they've probably actually started using it, but they really looked at John Hattie's results to see really what made the difference there in the terms of the quality of that blended learning. And so here are technology related strategies. And you can see that the top technology strategy was with learning, students with learning needs like IEPs and 504s. And we get a 0.57. So we show, hey, it's pretty useful for those kids for sure. But as you go down, you see these are just average, which is good. I mean, of course, we want that 1 year's growth, but we even see some of these actually hold kids back from achieving that 1 year's growth. Okay, then he looked here at just different specific strategies. So this is technology. This is just different strategies. So like a video review of a lesson, 0.88. That's pretty good. Having classroom discussions, and these could be in person or online. They could be synchronous or asynchronous. 0.82. That's pretty good. And then, though, he looked at just like what the teachers are doing. So you can see that the teachers rise to the top. These other things are not nearly as important as the teacher themselves. So at the top here, we have collective teacher efficacy. And what that means is that a group of teachers in a hallway, in a building, in a district, believe that kids can learn, and they believe they are capable. And you think, well, yeah, doesn't everyone think that? Actually, no, they don't. There's a lot of things and reasons why teachers don't believe that. But if they do, in a group, we get almost 4 years growth out of 1 year of school. That's amazing that your mindset can have that kind of influence. A teacher's estimates of achievement, that's like them saying, well, I think this class can get, proficient on this test, or I think this class can complete this assignment. Just your ability to actually believe in the kids. And also you can see on here clarity and expectation. So that clarity, and this is very important in the blended learning because kids need to know clearly what is it I'm supposed to learn and how am I supposed to learn it. Of course, that's important in any classroom, but it's going to be really important online to make sure that is very clear. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that website because that's pretty powerful stuff there. Okay, moving on. So this is kind of a summary then of what we just went over in the article. Teacher efficacy, super important. A teacher's estimates of the achievement of her students, clarity and expectations, video reviews. That's a large part of this blended learning strategy. Discussions and practice. So kids actually practicing what they're supposed to learn. Oops. Okay. So here are some considerations for districts. So I did some research to kind of get a game plan for districts. Like what would they need to do if they're totally unprepared, they're starting from scratch? What is it they need to do to get ready for this virtual type of instruction? First of all, there needs to be a vision. Like what is it they're wanting to do in the end? What is it you're going to accomplish by this? You need a vision. How ready is your district? Do you already have devices? Do your kids have internet? Are your teachers prepared to do this? So you've got to kind of take a look around the district. Design a model. So you need to kind of come up with a plan. Like, what is it we're going to really focus on here? Are we going to really focus on a model of like flipped learning where teachers are kind of lecturing on their videos? Or are we going to have them do more interactivity or games? What's the model you're going to choose? That requires a little bit of research. What kind of technology are you going to use? So what computers, what webcams, that kind of thing. You're going to have to do some staff training. Just to make sure staff is prepared for creating content online and housing it online. And that's actually a big part of this course, is kind of getting a teacher trained for that. Then you're going to troubleshoot. So you're going to have problems. This is not going to be smooth for a district, right? There's going to be things that set you back, but be prepared for that and be prepared to troubleshoot that, and then reflect on your progress, like what needs to change and what needs to improve. So for teachers, really, in the training and what we're going to cover, this is what you need to think about. You need to collect work and instructions in one place. This is called a learning management system, and it's a digital place where you put your videos into, where you collect the assignments from students. You need this one location so that kids aren't having to run all over the place trying to track down information and instructions. You need every link to the instructions, to websites, to videos, to games in one place. Preferably that one place works virtually and in the classroom when they have their devices in the classroom. That would be the preference there, that this is just like across the board. This is what everyone's using. Your learning goals need to be clear. So you need to say, here's what you're going to be able to do at the end of this. Here's what I'm wanting you to learn. Every lesson needs to start with that. You need to provide the resources, the videos, the search tips so students can learn. That's your job. Just giving them a worksheet and a textbook is not going to cut it. You're going to have to provide that instruction. You need to pick the tools and apps that you're going to use in your classroom, possibly in your grade level or in your building, and you need to stick with them. So if you're trying to learn too many tools and you're trying to teach these to kids, they're going to get very overwhelmed and it's too much. So we need them to focus on the content, not on learning all these new cool things. Of course, you can introduce more as time goes on, as they master those first ones, but you need to pick like 4 or 5 that you start with. It. Everyone's going to use them. This is kind of what we're going to teach kids, and go from there. Your assignments should help students practice the goal of the lesson. Have them summarize the learning when possible. So at the end of a lesson, summarizing is actually one of John Hattie's top strategies that works for teaching kids. They could present it. They could create their own video. They could create a presentation, Google Slides. They can reflect. They can discuss with their peers online or in person. They can create something. They can assess, by taking an assessment. They can teach someone else. You can always have them like, hey, make a video or a book that will teach someone younger than you about this topic. You need to be available during set times. This needs to be a schedule. You can't be changing it on kids and parents. They need to know, when are you available? Every day, every week. When should I contact you? And they will plan on it. They'll start to build their life around your schedule, but that needs to be set. And that needs to be very, very clear. Don't be changing that up all the time. And give feedback. So kids are going to need feedback. This is a new way of giving feedback. We're going to focus on how to give some quality feedback to kids so they can improve. Guess what? That's it. That was webinar number 4. If you would like to know more, go to my website. You can finish out the class.